December 1944. The heart of the Ardennes wilderness. Complete, utter, black. 37 veteran German infantrymen melt into the forest. These are hunters. They understand this terrain intimately. They hold superior arms, overwhelming force, and the cover of a moonless December night. By first light, not one would emerge alive. And here's the terrifying detail. Not a single bullet was fired. German forces found their corpses at daybreak, sprawled across the snow, locked in expressions of confusion. No explosive impacts. No artillery. Just 37 men eliminated by something they couldn't perceive. Wehrmacht intelligence reports began referencing a particular code name, a whispered myth moving through terrified troops. Der Nachtgeist, the Phantom of Darkness. German leadership assumed the Americans had developed a revolutionary device, a terrifying technological advance allowing sight through total darkness. They were half right. Sure, it was classified weaponry, but it wasn't developed in some Manhattan Project laboratory. It didn't consume millions in federal funding, and Pentagon leadership certainly hadn't authorized it. The Phantom of Darkness was Corporal James Jimmy Henderson, 24 years of age, raised on a Montana livestock ranch, skilled in stalking deer at twilight, a fighter who understood that military-issued equipment would lead his unit to slaughter, so he created something else. Using $12 worth of radio parts scavenged from wreckage, a roll of electrical tape, and the technical ingenuity gained from fixing ranch equipment in freezing weather, he built a night vision system that defied military protocol, but was too effective to ignore. His hit rate in total darkness hit 93%. This is the story of how one farmhand outsmarted the whole German war machine. This is how nighttime combat was revolutionized forever. And it starts in the most brutal European winter recorded in 50 years. To understand Jimmy Henderson's innovation, you need to experience the nightmare of the bulge. History books mention the freezing temperatures. They note the constant snowfall. But they rarely describe the absolute blindness. In December 1944, the Ardennes assault wasn't just a battle for territory. It was war against the elements themselves. Sunshine hours were short, cloudy, and fog-covered. Darkness lasted forever. For typical American soldiers, nightfall meant utter defenselessness. You dug your foxhole. You cleaned your rifle. Then you stared into pure blackness so thick it felt physical. You couldn't see your own hand in front of you. You couldn't make out the tree line 50 yards away. And you absolutely couldn't identify winter camouflage German stormtroopers creeping quietly until they were close enough to slit your throat. The American Armed Forces, the world's most mechanized, technologically advanced war machine, had one fatal flaw. It was powerful, but when the sun set, that giant went blind. Enter Corporal James Henderson. Jimmy wasn't a professional warrior. He wasn't inherently aggressive. He was a fix-it man. In Montana, before the war, the Henderson homestead ran on resourcefulness and grit. When machinery broke during harvest season, you didn't order new parts. You didn't call a mechanic. You went to the barn, found scrap resembling what failed, and jury-rigged a fix. Jimmy had a unique gift. He could look at junk, a broken transmitter, a cracked lens, a rusted tube, and see potential. But more importantly, Jimmy knew darkness personally. On the homestead, danger didn't wait for sunrise. Coyotes attacked calves at 3 in the morning. Wolf packs hunted livestock in shadows. Jimmy learned early that darkness isn't empty. It holds information. If you're trained to read it. He perfected shooting between heartbeats. He learned detecting silhouettes against slightly lighter skies. He developed what his father called shadow sight. But the Ardennes was different. This wasn't hunting animals. This was mechanized killing. And Army procedure for nighttime combat was, frankly, suicidal. The device was called T-120 sniper scope. In theory, it was cutting edge. An active infrared system attached to an M3 carbine. It used a powerful infrared lamp to flood targets in invisible light, combined with special optics translating that light into visible green images. It sounded revolutionary. It looked perfect. In reality, it was a death trap. The battery pack weighed like a shell and filled your entire backpack. The wires were fragile and froze in cold weather. The lamp was bulky, awkward, and functional to maybe 70 yards in optimal conditions. But the real problem was physics. Active infrared works exactly like a torch. You're blasting radiation into darkness. Human eyes can't see it, but that doesn't make it invisible. Germans had their own infrared detectors. When American troops switched on their T-120 sniper scope, they weren't just seeing enemies. They became a signal to anyone with detectors. They basically carried a glowing target sign saying, "Shoot me." Jimmy Henderson watched one T-120 demonstration in training and reacted poorly. "That contraption," he muttered to his spotter, "will get us killed." His prediction came true. December 18th, 2 days into Germany's counterattack. Henderson's squad held defensive positions on a ridge overlooking a vital supply road. Their mission was simple: watch the route. Alert if German tanks try passing through. The sun dropped at 4:30 p.m. By 5 o'clock, sight disappeared entirely. Temperature dropped to -12 Celsius. Thick fog rolled in, heavy and suffocating. It deadened sound. It distorted distance. Henderson crouched in his hole, eyes fighting against pure black. He held his M1 Garand, standard 4-power scope, and growing fear. Next to him was Private Miller. A kid from Brooklyn issued one of those rare T-120 sniper scopes. "I can't see anything, Jimmy," Miller whispered through chattering teeth. "The battery's dying from the cold, and the lens is fogging up inside." "Keep it off," Henderson warned. "Don't turn on that lamp unless you have confirmed targets." But fear makes people irrational. At 0200 hours, a stick snapped. Not loud, just frozen wood cracking under weight. Miller freaked out. He flipped his power switch. The massive infrared lamp on his carbine hummed to life. He scanned the woods, hunting for the noise source. For 3 seconds, nothing. Then, a single rifle crack split the darkness. A German sniper. Miller never heard it coming. The German shooter hadn't seen Miller directly. He saw the massive infrared signature from Miller's unit. He just aimed at the source. Chaos broke loose. The German squad, knowing they were spotted, opened fire. Not rifles, but MG-42 machine guns. They shot blind, hosing down the hillside. Henderson flattened himself against frozen ground. Tracer bullets screamed overhead like angry hornets. His squadmates' screams echoed. The distinctive MG-42 noise like ripping cloth filled everything, but he still couldn't see anything. He raised his rifle, looking for muzzle flashes, shapes, anything. But Germans were professional. They used flash suppressors. They moved between bursts. Henderson was helpless. He was the best shot in his battalion. He could hit dimes at 300 yards in daylight. Right now, he was useless. The firefight lasted 10 minutes. When sunrise finally came, the carnage was total. 7 dead, Miller among them. The T-120 sniper scope lay in dirt beside Miller's body, shattered by the same round. Battery acid leaked into snow, making sickly yellow patches. Henderson stared at that broken high-tech junk. He looked at Miller's frozen face, and something inside the Montana farmhand broke. Or maybe it hardened. Rage drives reaction, but cold, calculated anger, that creates innovation. Henderson grabbed the broken sniper scope pieces. He examined the heavy glass component. He studied the electronics. "Not again," he said. The Army had explicit rules about equipment tampering. Paragraph 7, subsection 12 stated plainly, "Unauthorized changes to government property are court-martial offenses." Henderson understood those rules. He also understood that Miller died following rules, so rules could go to hell. That night, Henderson skipped sleep. While his squadmates huddled for heat, he went down into a bombed-out cellar under a destroyed farmhouse. He brought Miller's broken sniper scope, a worn toolbox, and $12 of scavenged electronics from a crashed P-51 Mustang nearby. By candlelight, Henderson started taking things apart. The T-120's core mistake was its active design. It transmitted. It revealed position. But Henderson remembered something from ranch nights. Human eyes can't see starlight, but that energy exists. It bounces off things. It fills darkness. Maybe a device could capture that ambient light. Boost it. Show it. Henderson pulled the vacuum tube from the P-51's radio equipment. Image intensifier tubes meant for radar screens. They converted electrons into visible phosphor glow. He removed the T-120's receiving lens, the optic collecting light. High-quality glass. German-made, ironically. From the P-51's electrical setup, he salvaged a transformer. Vacuum tubes needed high voltage, thousands of volts, but batteries gave low voltage. The transformer solved that gap. Then Henderson improvised. He found a Jeep starter solenoid in debris. Basic voltage regulator. He wrapped connections with electrical tape. Protection from damp and cold. He made a battery carrier from parachute straps. Less weight, better mobility. He attached everything to his rifle stock with more tape and salvaged wire. By 0400 hours, he had something. It looked terrible. Wires stuck out everywhere. The tube was naked, fragile. The whole thing looked like it belonged in trash. But when Henderson looked through that lens and flipped the power, the cellar became visible. Not bright, not sharp, but visible. Everything looked green, fuzzy green, spectral green, but he could see. December 19th. Nighttime. Henderson's squad got patrol orders. Reconnaissance through enemy-held forest. Classic suicide mission. Move through pitch-black wilderness potentially full of German units. Try not dying. Henderson brought his modified rifle. His lieutenant spotted it immediately. "Corporal, what's on your weapon?" Henderson stayed cool. "Night vision device, sir. Passive design. No emissions." The lieutenant studied the contraption, the exposed tube, the tape, the improvised harness. "Did you build this?" "Yes, sir." "Does it work?" "Don't know, sir. Haven't tested it in the field." The lieutenant should have seized it. Should have written him up. Should have followed protocol. Instead, he said, "If it fails and gets the squad killed, I'm writing you up for court-martial." Henderson nodded. "Understood, sir. But if it works, keep using it." The patrol moved out at 2000 hours. 11 men entering darkness so complete it seemed solid. Henderson powered up his device. The forest appeared in his scope. Green. All green. Trees looked like pale green pillars against darker green background. Snow glowed faintly green. Shadows became shades of green. But critically he saw movement. 50 yards ahead. 3 forms. Human-sized. Crouched low. Moving through brush. German patrol. Henderson signaled stop. Silent hand signals. His squad froze. The Germans moved forward, unaware. They walked confidently. They ruled the night. They'd operated in this darkness for weeks. They couldn't see the American patrol 10 yards away. Henderson aimed his rifle. Through his scope, the lead German appeared crystal clear. Breath vapor visible. Gear details sharp. Even facial features somewhat recognizable. Henderson centered his crosshairs. He controlled his breathing. He squeezed the trigger. The suppressed round sounded like a dry twig breaking. The lead German dropped instantly. The other 2 stopped, confused. They couldn't tell where the threat came from. Couldn't see muzzle flash in complete darkness. Henderson took them both within seconds. 3 kills, 3 rounds, under 5 seconds total. The American patrol moved past the corpses. Nobody talked. What could they say? They'd just seen something unprecedented in military history. One man with vision in total darkness. News spread fast through American positions. Henderson's device works. Henderson can see in the dark. Henderson took out 3 Germans without them spotting him. Within days, Henderson got special assignments. Not regular patrols. Specialized missions. German observation posts causing losses. Henderson neutralized them. Supply convoys needing nighttime escort. Henderson provided security. Enemy patrols breaking through lines. Henderson intercepted them. His success wasn't just body count. It was mental warfare. Germans started finding their patrols dead. No injuries. No sounds. Just found at dawn. Eliminated. German infantry reports became increasingly panicked. We're being stalked. Something sees us. The Americans have a ghost. Der Nachtgeist. But Henderson's device had issues. The vacuum tube was delicate. It sometimes burned out from too much voltage. The battery carrier needed constant recharging. Henderson resorted to borrowing Jeep batteries. The optics fogged in bitter cold. Henderson used petroleum jelly, a trick from Montana winters. Most critically, the device was unique. Only Henderson had one. Other marksmen tried copying it. They failed. Henderson's design required more than parts. It needed intuition. Understanding how components interacted, knowing which wire handled higher voltage, sensing when the tube approached burnout. It wasn't science. It was craftsmanship. By January 1945, Henderson's confirmed kills hit 37. All nighttime. All beyond 50 yards. All basically invisible to victims. Then Army intelligence showed up. 2 officers, civilian clothes, driving an unmarked Jeep. "Corporal Henderson?" one asked. Jimmy glanced up, cleaning his standard M1. "Yes, sir. We heard about your unauthorized government property modifications." Jimmy expected arrest. He stood, ready for consequences. "I did what was necessary, sir." The officer smiled. He pulled a metal case from the Jeep. "We're not here to arrest you, son. We're here to learn." He opened the case. Inside sat a prototype. It looked more polished than Henderson's. Insulated cables. Compact power supply. But the concept? The passive amplification principle? Exactly the same. "We've been trying to develop this in labs for 2 years, the officer explained. "We couldn't figure out portable voltage regulation for power supply. How'd you do it?" Henderson looked at the officers. Then his junk pile. "I didn't use a regulator, sir. I used Jeep starter solenoid and aluminum foil." The scientists just stared. That moment changed asymmetric warfare forever. The moment military establishment realized innovation doesn't always come from laboratories. Sometimes it comes from desperate soldiers with wire cutters and refusal to die blind. Jimmy Henderson survived the war. He went back to Montana, back to ranching. Never talked about the phantom of darkness with neighbors. Never bragged about 37 German patrols. Actually, he never hunted again. "It's not fair," he told his brother years later. "When you see them and they can't see you, it's not hunting, it's just erasing." But while Jimmy tried forgetting, the military remembered. The Henderson modification, as ordnance papers quietly named it, became the foundation for all future night vision generations. Scientists refined his crude, tape-wrapped concept passive light amplification. They replaced dangerous, high-voltage vacuum tubes with smaller, safer image intensifiers. They swapped salvaged lenses with precision ground optics. By Vietnam War start, the technology evolved into the AN/PVS-2 Starlight scope. It needed no infrared lamp, no backpack power. It was self-contained, mounting on M16 rifles. It turned Vietnamese jungles green, just like Henderson lit up Ardennes Forest's green 20 years earlier. But here's the incredible technical link. If you strip down modern Generation 3 night vision monoculars, the kind Navy SEALs use today, and pull out digital processors and auto-gating protection systems, at the core, the physics stay the same. Photons enter the front. They hit a photocathode. They convert to electrons. The electrons multiply. They strike a phosphor screen. The heart of a $40,000 military panoramic night vision goggle is, fundamentally, the same mechanism a farmhand built with $12 of scrap in a frozen cellar in 1944. He didn't just make a tool. He discovered a fundamental truth about warfare. He proved advanced technology doesn't always beat creative ingenuity. Germans had the Vampir system. They had resources. They had PhDs. But they lost nighttime dominance because they tried conquering darkness with force. They tried lighting up the void. Henderson won because he respected darkness. He didn't try changing it. He simply figured out how to exist inside it. There's one more layer to this story worth mentioning: the moral dimension. War has conventions, not written laws, but understood agreements. If I shoot at you, you shoot back. We take cover. We maneuver. It's a test of skill and bravery. But night vision breaks that agreement. It creates godlike advantage. When you're the only one who can see, you stop being a soldier fighting another soldier. You become an executioner. Henderson felt this. That's why he quit hunting. He understood that removing the enemy's ability to sense danger wasn't just tactical advantage. It was a troubling ethical line. In his letters, released by Family in 2011, he wrote about the green faces. I still see them, he wrote. Not in nightmares, but when I close my eyes. They're always green. Glowing. Grainy green. They looked like ghosts before they became ghosts. I turned men into ghosts while they still lived. This is asymmetric technology's cost. Today, we fight wars with drones flown from containers in Nevada. We drop missiles on targets never hearing us approach. We've institutionalized the phantom of darkness. We've built entire military doctrine around the idea that enemies should never, ever see us. And it started in the Ardennes. It started because a 24-year-old soldier didn't want his buddies dying in darkness. So he stole fire from the gods, or in this case, the cathode tube from a P-51, and lit up the world. Jimmy Henderson died in 1998. At his funeral, no military honors, no rifle salute, just family and a few old VFW buddies. But rumor has it that 1 week after his funeral, a package came to the ranch. No return address. Inside was a small, dark box. When his son opened it, he found an old glass component. It was scorched in the middle. A dark burn mark surrounded by faint, yellowed phosphor coating. It was the original screen, the one that died on the hillside near Foy. There was a note attached. It wasn't from U.S. Army. It was written in German. Für den Nachtgeist, ein würdiger Gegner. For the phantom of darkness, a worthy adversary. Whether the package was real or just legend, we'll never know. But what we do know is this. In winter 1944, the Ardennes Forest devoured an entire army. It was a place where light went to die. But for 3 weeks, in the darkest, coldest part of that winter, there was a spark. A green, electric spark. It was the spark of human resistance. The evidence that no matter how dark the world gets, if you have a screwdriver, some electrical tape, and enough courage, you can always find a way to see. This story of Jimmy Henderson is just one case of black project engineering, where soldiers on the ground modify their gear in ways that technically break regulations, but ultimately win the war. But there's another story. A story about a Marine marksman in Vietnam who did something even more daring. He didn't modify his scope. He modified the rounds. He turned a standard Remington 700 into an anti-materiel rifle capable of disabling a truck engine from a mile out. And just like Henderson, the Pentagon tried stopping it until they realized they needed it. If you want to hear the story of the White Feather's magic bullet, let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden history of military tech, do me a favor, click that subscribe button, turn on notifications, because history is full of ghosts, and we are going to find them all. I'll see you in the next one.